Guys, welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. It truly is. We are going back down the Reddit rabbit hole today with a multiple part story about stalking, somebody's experience with stalking. I have not read this story yet, so I am going to be reacting to it for the first time right now. So let's just start. So I want to tell you about my stalker story. It's pretty scary and it shows how some people can be obsessed with you and the proportions it can get to. First of all, I want to apologize for my English. I'm not from an English-speaking country. I used to live in a busy road I think she means on. I used to live on a busy road not far from my city's train station. Me and my family moved there in 2002. I was almost 1 year old, so I pretty much lived there all my life. There was a small park in my neighborhood where the kids would go to play. I never went there alone because my mom was really scared of someone taking me away. When I was 6, I made a friend, Terrell, who lived across the street. He was a bit older and would always be with his siblings, so my mom trusted him, and for the first time she let me go to the park without an adult. All the kids were playing is what I think she means. When a man approached us, he was in his 30s and was with his son. He asked us if his son could play with us, and Terrell replied, of course. We played hide and seek, and weirdly, the men played with us. I hid behind a very big tree. After a few seconds, I heard, well, that's not the best spot to hide. I turned around and saw the man behind me. I just answered by a smile. He hid with me. The tree was a bit isolated, so many friends took a long time to find us. Oh God, where is this going? During this time, he talked with me. He asked what my name was, how old I was, where I was from. He told me his name was Hamid, that he was from Turkey, but he was born here. While he was talking, I saw my friend approaching, so I told him, oh, he's going to find us. So Hamid grabbed me, held me in his arms, put his hand over my mouth, and whispered, don't make any noise. We need to win. My friend ended up finding us. I didn't think anything bad about what had just happened, just that Hamid was a bit too friendly. Back home, I didn't even tell my mom. Hamid and his son would always play with us, and when my mom found out about it, she was reassured to know that an adult was looking after us. Hamid would always be around me, but nothing really serious ever happened. About 3 years later, Hamid divorced with his wife. She took their son back to Turkey with her, and Hamid stopped playing with us. Part 2. Years went by, and I haven't seen Hamid for a while, like 3 or 4 years. I'm now 14, and one day I see Hamid at the bus stop. I wave at him smiling, but he didn't see me. At that time, I was shy, so I didn't do anything else, just kept walking. A few days later, I was walking with my mom, and we saw him. This time, he came to us and started talking to my mom, then turned to me and said a thing that pretty much every adult says. Lord, I didn't even recognize you. You've changed so much. You're a woman now. But the way he said it was weird. I felt uncomfortable, and even my mom noticed it. We would often see each other at the bus stop. We would have a small conversation. He would ask me about school or about my family. Soon enough, the questions would become more weird. Do you have a boyfriend? Did you already have your period? Just questions that shouldn't be asked. I was so embarrassed that I didn't even say anything. I just answered. It was my birthday, and as usual, I saw him at the bus stop. I don't know how he knew it, but he wished me a happy birthday and said, so you're 15 now, huh? To which I replied, yes. And he kept on saying, you know, when I was 15, I had sex for the first time. Did you already have sex? I just looked at him, rolled my eyes, and went back home. I told my mom, she told my dad, and him and Hamid had a pretty violent fight. Understandable. After this, my dad forbid me to talk to him ever again, which was pretty logic. I think she means logical. A few months later, a summer morning at about 6 a.m., I went running. I ran for about 30 minutes. I was not in the city anymore, but in the countryside. I stopped at a fountain to drink because my bottle was empty. I heard footsteps behind me and felt that the person had stopped walking and was standing behind me. I was still drinking, and all of a sudden, I felt someone scrub against me. I was bending to drink, so I immediately stood up and realized it was Hamid. I tried to go, but he grabbed me, and as I tried to scream, he put his hand over my mouth just as he did behind the tree when I was 6 years old. Hopefully, a guy saw this scene and came. Hamid ran away, and that guy took me back home. I told everything to my family. My dad went back to Hamid's house but didn't find him. So this time he called the police. The police didn't find him and believed he fled back to Turkey. Part 3. I thought Hamid was for once all out of my life now that the police knew about his acts. For 3 months, everything went well until one day we received a letter. How he couldn't live without me, that he saw me growing up and becoming a woman. Crazy things like this. We would receive 1 or 2 letters per week, so my family decided to move, to change neighborhoods. We looked for many apartments, but they were very expensive and we didn't have enough money to move there. This was until February of 2018. I was 16, and one day a young man came to our house. He was a bit older than me, well-dressed and very handsome. Black hair, a beard, and he had the most charming smile I've ever seen. He asked me if my parents were home. I replied that they weren't, that they would be back in an hour, so he said that he would come back around 5 p.m., as he said he would. At 5, he was back at my house. He said to my parents that he worked for an agency who rents cheap apartments and that he heard from our neighbors that we wanted to move out. He showed us a nice apartment, and 2 weeks later, we moved there. 2 days after we moved, when I was alone, the handsome guy knocked on my door. I told him my parents weren't home, and he replied that he was there for me. He said that I was beautiful, that we were almost the same age, and that he wanted to get to know me. After hesitating, I gave him my number. We talked 2 months and ended up dating. Part 4. Everything was really perfect with him. Me and Sam, my boyfriend, aka the really handsome guy, would see each other every day, sometimes even 2 or 3 times a day. I loved being with him, and we would never be bored when we were together. Sam is the perfect caring boyfriend. Nothing seemed weird about him. The only thing that I've noted is that he always tries to take pictures of me. Always, even when we weren't dating yet. I guessed he really loved me and wanted to immortalize every moment we'd spend together. It was kind of cute. I really liked it. One day, I said to my mom that I was going out with my girlfriends, but instead I went to his house. It was the first time I went there. He lived alone in a very nice yet very small apartment. We ate and watched a movie, a really nice afternoon. It was about 4 p.m. and Sam told me he was going to take a shower. I'm really curious and also a bit mistrustful, so I start going through Sam's stuff. I started by his wardrobe, his drawers. I didn't find anything. It's only when I looked under the bed that I found a small green box. I took it and opened it. There were developed pictures he took of me. At that same moment, Sam got back in the bedroom. "What are you doing, you little snitch?" he asked. Just looking through my boyfriend's stuff to get some evidence of infidelity," I answered, smiling, holding the pictures in my hand. "What are those?" I asked him. "You're so pretty, aren't you? Look at yourself. Damn, every time I miss you, I just look at these. I just love taking pictures. It's my passion." He sat near me, took the pictures, and filed it back in the box. I was more than satisfied with his answer. Everything he said made me fall even more in love with him. When it was time to go back home, I insisted to stay the night at his place. I really don't want you to get in trouble with your parents, he said. I told him that I was going to call my mom, make her believe I was staying at my cousin's house, and that I was not going to get into trouble. I first called my cousin. She said she was going to call my mom herself and tell her I was sleeping at her house. Everything went as planned. We got to sleep about 1 a.m. after watching so many episodes of Game of Thrones. The next morning, he was not here. I was a bit scared. I took my phone and saw he had sent me a message. I think I forgot to tell you I was working today. I'll be back home at 12 p.m. with some Chinese food. It was about 10 a.m. at this point, so I had 2 hours before he'd come back. I looked under the bed, but this time the green box was missing. Part 5. I thought that it was really weird that the boxes were not the same place, so I started looking for them. They were really well hidden because it took me an hour to find them. They were hidden under the kitchen sink. I took them and went to the bedroom. When I opened it, I saw there were new pictures that weren't there the night before. It was chilly. They were some pictures of me sleeping that night. I knew it was weird, but I just thought that he was in love with me and that it was normal. I texted my two best friends, sent them the pictures, and they both agreed that it was weird, but that it was just his way to be in love with me. I decided to wait until he came home and talk to him about it. When he arrived, I greeted him with a petty face and the pictures. He said, "I'm sorry. I know you must find all this really weird, but I really love you and I like every moment I spend with you. I hid them because I was scared you thought I was a psycho. I just love you so much." It was so cute. I just jumped on him and gave him the biggest hug I thought he deserved. We continued dating and it was all like in a movie. Just the perfect relationship until he lost his job. That's when he started to get really nervous and angry. I was unsure of our love, but every time he was mean to me, right after that, he would be the nicest person. But one day, because of a picture I took that was provocative, he hit me for the first time. It didn't hurt that much physically, but emotionally it did. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door. He ran after me and asked me to open the door. For at least 45 minutes he was apologizing, so I forgave him. As you may have anticipated, that was not the last time it happened, and I kept forgiving him because I was stupid. One day I was helping him clean the house. I'm a bit of a possessive girlfriend, so I was looking into his pockets to see if I find any evidence of infidelity, but instead I found his ID card, and I was shocked to see that his name was not the same. Part 6. His name was Mehmet Ali. I remembered I knew that name, but just couldn't remember when or where it was. We had a huge fight about it, and I didn't talk to him for a week. He would call me at any time, even at night, send me more than 50 messages a day. He was so into getting back with me that I once again forgave him. Is this the sun? It's my theory. We dated a while. One day I was at my parents' house and I had a huge fight with them about him. They didn't want me to be with a boy, so after a moment of argument, my dad said, or you leave, okay, basically you leave him or you leave the house. I was so furious that I took my stuff and of course went to Sam Mina's house. Living with him was hell. He controlled every single move I made. He went through my phone at least 20 times a day and would always take pictures of me when I didn't expect it. When he finally found a new job, everything went back to how it used to be in the beginning. I was happy. One day I was cleaning the house when I came across documents I didn't pay attention to at first, but then I saw a pretty familiar name, Hamid. I took the documents and it took me a minute to understand, but now it was clear to me. Mehmet Ali was the son, I was right, of Hamid Ali. It was written on the documents. I felt nauseous, scared, and unsafe. It was too much for me. I wanted to go back to my parents' house. I went to the bedroom, took a few clothes, put them in my handbag. I was ready to leave. but I heard the keys unlocking the front door. Oh my God. I was scared, and I know it was obvious. I wanted to leave, and knowing that he could put his hands on me made me nervous and scared for my life. Oh my God. I hid my handbag under the bed and tried as hard as I could to act normal all the rest of the day. The next morning, when he woke up and went to work, I ran away and went straight to my parents' house and told them the story. Part 7. My parents obviously hit me with the "I told you he was no good." I told them the story. They immediately took me to the police, and I told them the story. I'm still in love with him, and I didn't really want to do this. They immediately arrested him and ended up also arresting his father. I asked the police not to tell me about any sentence Sam would get. I didn't want to feel guilty. So at this day, I don't know if he served a sentence in prison or just had another smaller sentence. The only thing I know is that a police officer handed me a letter from Mehmet Sam, and that was what scared me the most. The letter is 6 pages long, so I can't get into all the details, but he apologized and told me his father taught him how to stalk me since he was a little boy playing with us. He had, since his childhood, pictures of me hanging on his bedroom walls. For so many years, his dad convinced him that one day he had to be with me, to marry me, because it was God's will. Oh my God. What makes me the most sad is that at the end of the story, Sam Mehmet didn't fall in love with me, was indoctrinated by his father. He ended the letter with, "I do sincerely love you. Know for who you are, and I will love you forever, because now for me, this is the reality." Wow. Well, most importantly, this is not your fault. I don't even know if this is the son's fault. I feel like the main person to blame in this entire situation is the father. All right, guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't yet and you feel so inclined to. And until next time, stay safe out there.